Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. First things first, thank you guys so much for the well wishes. Quick update, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm not completely back to normal, but I should be 100% in the next few days. While recovering, I've been taking it easy, but I did find time to work on this snazzy Batwing sweater. Fun fact, this entire sweater took just one jumbo skein of yarn to complete. Towards the end, I thought I might have to get creative with the sleeves, but it worked out, so I'll save that idea for another video. Do you guys ever play chicken with a project? Let me know in the comments. Also, this project is super beginner friendly, so if you're new or looking for a confidence booster, this is the perfect one for you. Now, I've got comments to catch up on, so I'll do that, and you guys enjoy the video. So without further ado, for this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a full skein of Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo in Amethyst. As for tools, a 5 and a 5.5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There's a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Watch to the end of the video to learn how to enter this week's giveaway. We're using 2 stitches for this project, and they will be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, and single crochet. This tutorial is for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're first going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're going to grab our 5mm hook and start off by doing some measuring. The first measurement that we're going to make from here is going to be from collarbone to collarbone. And a really quick tip to make this long chain easier is we're all going to start off by doing a chain up of 5. Once we have our chain of 5, we're going to pull a little bit of slack, insert our hook into that first chain, put the slack loop back on our hook, and pull tight. And now our long chain won't get twisted. And my measurement is a total of 8 inches or 20 centimeters, so I'm going to make a chain of 30 and make sure that we all end on an even number. And once we have our chain, be sure to grab your stitch markers because we're going to need them in the next clip. And now that we have our chain, we're going to do an extra chain up of 1, and then we're going to insert our stitch marker into that chain that we just made. And from here, we're going to make another measurement of our collarbone down to where we want the point of our collar to be. Mine just so happens to be the same measurements, so another 8 inches or 20 centimeters or 30 chains. But if you guys want yours to be higher or lower, go ahead and adjust. Just make sure we're ending on an even number again. And now that we have that chain, we're going to do an extra chain up of 1 again and insert our stitch marker into that last chain. And then we're going to close this off by measuring from the point of our collar back up to our collarbone. So it should be the same as our other measurement. So I'm going to be making another chain of 8 inches or 20 centimeters or another 30 chains. And now that we have the last bit of our chain, we're going to do another chain up of 1 and insert our stitch marker into that last chain. And once we have this, we do need to connect everything. And since we're already in through our first chain, we're just going to pull this first loop underneath this one, and everything is all connected. And now that we have our collar nice and connected, we're next going to go in with a row of single crochets with some increases. So making sure that we're going into the chain that went from collarbone to collarbone, we're going to go in that direction with a single crochet row. So go ahead and do a chain up of 1. And then into that first chain that we made, so our slip stitch is into there, we're going to go into that same loop with a single crochet. Let's do the next single crochet together into that next chain, another single crochet, and then put 1 single crochet into every chain until we hit our next stitch marker. And now that we've made our way down to our first stitch marker, we're going to take this guy out for now, and we're going to go in with an increase of 2 into that chain. So into that same chain, there's 1 single crochet, and then into the same chain, our second single crochet. And then we're going to be inserting our stitch marker into the second single crochet that we made, or the stitch that's closest to the point of our collar. And then from here, we're going to go back down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch until we hit our next stitch marker. And now that I've made my way down to my next stitch marker, which is the point of our collar, now we're going to go in with an increase of 3. So go ahead and take this guy out for now. Insert your hook into that next chain with 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then 3 single crochet. Once we have that, insert our stitch marker back into that middle single crochet, because that is the middle of our collar now. And then from here, put 1 single crochet into every chain, making our way up, and I'll meet you guys back at this stitch marker. And we are now at our last stitch marker, so we're going to go in with an increase of 2 single crochets. So into that last chain, there is 1, and there is 2 into that same last chain. For this one, we're going to be inserting our stitch marker into the first single crochet that we made, or the single crochet that's closest to the point of our collar. And from here, we're going to slip stitch it into that first single crochet that we made. We just want to make sure that it is not twisted. And once we know it's not twisted, go ahead and insert your hook, yarn over, pull through everything, and then we're going to do a chain up of 1. All right, so now that we have just finished up going in with our first row for our collar, we're going to go in with our second row. And it's just going to be 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch, making sure that we're inserting our stitch markers back into the same stitches. So pretty easy. We're just going to do the first few together. Once we get here, we're going to do a chain up of 1, and then into that first back loop, we're going to insert our hook and single crochet. Let's do 1 more. Into that next back loop and single crochet. And just keep doing this, going all the way around. Make sure that we are inserting our stitch marker into the same stitch once when we get there. And then I'll meet you guys back so we can do just 1 more row. All right, so we have just finished up going in with our second row when it comes to our collar, and I did do a chain up of 1 and cut. Right before we get started on the body, we are going to have to do 1 more row along just the front portion of our collar, and we're going to be doing that so that we can make some bigger loops for ourselves so that we don't have all of these loops to go into with our 5.5mm hook. So this is going to help us out all around. So what we're going to do from here is first insert our 5mm hook into this shoulder stitch marker stitch that we have right here, and then we're going to be working down towards the V and then up to the other end. So all we're going to do is insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through. Once we have that, we're going to start off by doing a chain up of 2. That counts as a single crochet and a chain. And then from here, remembering to work towards our V, we're going to skip 1 stitch, insert our hook into the next stitch with a single crochet. Let's do the next one together. Do a chain up of 1, skip 1 stitch, single crochet into the next. And we're going to keep doing this, going all the way around until we hit this next stitch marker. Go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we can get started on the body. So, getting started on the body portion, we're first going to start off by switching out for our 5.5mm hook. And we're going to start off by measuring from our underarm down to where we want the bottom of this top to be. But I do want mine to be just a little bit more of a batwing, so I'm going to lower where I typically measure for my underarm. So it's going to be right underneath where my boob is, down to the bottom, but you guys can adjust from there. But I'm going to start off by making a chain of 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters, so that's going to come out to 20 chains. Now that I have my chain, I'm going to block off my last chain and do a chain up of 1. Into that chain that we blocked off, for the second chain from our hook, going to go in with a single crochet. And we're going to single crochet, making our way all the way down, leaving the last chain because we're going to increase into there together. Now that we've made our way all the way down our chain, we have just 1 chain left, and we're going to increase into here together. So into that last chain, we're going to pull through 2, that's our first single crochet. We have just 1 more to do into that last chain again, and that is our increase. From here, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then into that first back loop, we're going to go in with an increase of 2 back loop single crochets, and then from there, put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch, making our way down. When we make our way down to the bottom, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then bring our work back up with more back loop single crochets, remembering to increase along the top. And we're going to keep moving back and forth like this until this portion reaches the front of our body, And then from there, we'll meet each other back at the increase side so that we can make a chain that shoots straight up for our shoulder portion. All right, so I am back with my underarm portion, and I ended up just having a total of 3 rows, and that came out to about 1.5 inches or about 3 centimeters. But once we have this, we should have all ended along the top, and now we're just going to make a chain that shoots straight up and reaches our shoulder. And I have already measured mine out. I'm going to start off by making a chain of 30, or that comes out to about 9 inches or 23 centimeters. And now that we have our chain, we're going to do a chain up of 1. And then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to go in with a single crochet. And we're going to single crochet into every chain that we have, making our way down into the body portion. And then once we reach this, we're going to go back in with back loop single crochets, do a chain up of 1, and then do back loop single crochets coming all the way back up. And we're going to keep going back and forth like this with rows of back loop single crochets until we get a shoulder portion that's wide enough to sit on our shoulder. And then I'll meet you guys back along the chain side so we can go straight into the collar from there. All right, so I am all back with my shoulder chunk, and I ended up having a total of 11 rows, and the total width is 3 inches or 8 centimeters, and that is including my underarm portion as well. But once we have this, we did all meet back at the top, and now we're ready to insert it into our collar. So this is going to be fairly simple. The first thing we're going to do is insert our hook into that first bigger chain space that we made for ourselves along the bottom portion of our collar. So just to take a look at it, this is where my stitch marker is. Remember how we did that chain up of 2 and made ourselves that bigger gap? We're going to insert our hook into there. Once we have that, we're going to yarn over and pull through. Then now that is nice and attached, and what we're going to do from here is slip stitch into that next stitch that we made for ourselves, and then we're going to work our way down the shoulder portion so that we can get started on the body. So just to flip our work over and then insert our hook into that next stitch that we made within the collar. To find that guy is right over here. So we're going to slip stitch into there. And then we can flip our body portion over and then get started. And we're first going to get started with doing a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. So into the first 2 back loops, we're going to decrease. Insert your hook into that first back loop, pull through, into that next back loop, pull through. From here, we're going to yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Then from here, go ahead and put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. We make our way down to the bottom, do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and leave the last 2 because we're going to decrease together just one more time. And now that we've made our way all the way back down, we left just 2 stitches left, and now we're going to decrease into there just one more time. So into that second to last back loop, we're going to insert our hook, pull through, into that next back loop, pull through, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And just like before, we're going to slip stitch into the loops that we made for ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and find that next loop, slip stitch into there to close off this row. And then to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch into that next loop that we made, flip our work, and then redo everything all over again. So starting off with another decrease of 2 back loop single crochets. And we're going to keep repeating that sequence, going all the way down until we get to this last stitch that we made for ourselves right before we hit the middle. And we should have 1 stitch along this side and another stitch along this side. And our middle is actually right where our single crochet is when we were making our bigger loops. And then I'll meet you guys back once we get over to this middle one on this side, and then we can work our way up with the other side together. All right, so we have just made our way all the way down to our last stitch that we have along this side. And now we're going to work our way up, and then we're going to do an increase and then do the same thing that we did here, but with increases. So from here, I'm going to work my way all the way up with back loop single crochets until I have just 1 stitch left, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can attach it into the base together. All right, so we have just made our way all the way down with our back loop single crochets, and we left just 1 stitch left. So we're going to increase into there together. Into that last back loop, we're going to go in with 1 back loop single, and then into that same back loop with our second back loop single. And then we're going to slip stitch into the next available stitch to close off that row. And now we're going to do the same thing, but with increases. So let's just get started on the next row together, and I'll let you guys go from there. Into this next available stitch, we're going to slip stitch, flip our work, and start with an increase of 2 back loop single crochets. So into that first back loop, there's 1 single, into that same back loop, our second single, and keep working our way back and forth while maintaining the increase into the stitch that's right next to the base until we don't have any more of these stitches left to go into. Then I'll meet you guys back so that we can go in with our shoulder portion together. All right, so I am back and I have just made my way all the way down with my increased side of my V-neck. And what we're going to do from here is go in with the same amount of rows as our first shoulder portion that we have over here. And since we don't have any more stitches left to go into when it comes to the loops that we made for ourselves, all we're going to do is just do a chain up of 1, flip, and then put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch. Once we make our way down to the end, do the same thing, chain up of 1, flip, and then bring it on back with more back loop single crochets. And keep working that until we have the same amount of rows on this side, and then we can go in with our underarm portion together. All right, so we are back and we are nearly done with our front panel. The last thing that we have to do is just go in with our underarm portion. So the easiest way to go about doing that is remembering the amount of chains that we made over here. For our shoulder portion, I ended up making a chain of 30. And from this top corner, count down the same amount of chains that you made and insert your stitch marker. And then from here, we're going to do back loop single crochets going all the way up until we have just 2 stitches right before our stitch marker, and then we're going to decrease from there. And now that we've made our way down till we have just 2 stitches right before our stitch marker, we're going to decrease together. So into that second to last back loop, insert your hook, pull through, into that next back loop, pull through. From here, we're going to yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops. Do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then we're going to do another decrease of 2 back loop single crochets because that's how we did the other side. So we're just going to get that started, and then we're going to end up having the same amount of underarm rows as we had on the other side. So into that next back loop, pull through, next back loop, pull through 3. And we're going to keep doing this, going all the way down, and then just make sure we end up having the same amount of rows as our other underarm portion, and then I will meet you guys back so we can do the back. All right, so we are back, and looks like our entire front panel is all finished up. And from here, we're going to get started on our back piece. And the back piece is going to start off exactly the same way that our front piece did. So we're going to do the same amount of chains for our initial chain for our underarm, same amount of rows, and then we're also going to do the same chain that shoots straight up to the shoulder, and then also for the same amount of rows as our shoulder portion. Once when we have that entire section that is exactly the same, we'll meet each other back so that I can show you guys just where to insert your back panel, and then we can just go in straight from there because we won't have to do any increases or decreases into the collar. All right, so we are back and we have just finished up going in with our underarm and our shoulder portion. We have the same exact amount of everything. And now I'm just going to show you guys where we're first going to be inserting our hook, and then we're just going to go straight across for our back portion from there. So the spot where we're going to be inserting our hook is actually going to be in the same stitch that we have inserted our front panel into. So this is the stitch that we first inserted our hook into when it came to doing our front panel. We're going to insert our hook into the same stitch, but then when it comes to working our way into the back panel, we're going to work into these stitches that we have right here going straight across. So let's just get that started together. We should have all ended along the top. Once we have this, we are going to insert our hook into that same stitch that we have, so that last stitch that we made for ourselves within the collar. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through everything. And now our shoulder portion and underarm portion for our back is nice and attached. And I'm just going to show you guys where we're going to be inserting our hook for our next row, and then I'll let you guys just go from there. So let's turn it this way, be a little bit easier. But since our hook is into this row right here, we're going to take a look at the next available stitch that we have into the back panel. Mine just so happens to be this one right here. So to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch into that stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull through. Once when we have that, we're going to flip our work, and then we're going to be putting 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch that we have, making our way down. When we get to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, and then work our way back down with back loop single crochets. And we're going to attach our work into the back portion of the collar the same way that we did the front. The only difference is that we aren't going to be doing any increases or any decreases. So this is going to be a straight shot, just going all the way down to our next stitch marker over here. So go ahead and get all this done, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alrighty, so we are back and we have just made our way all the way across with our back panel. And now we don't have any more stitches left, so we're going to work our way off with our shoulder portion. And this is going to be done the same exact way that we've done the first. So we're just going to do a chain up of one, flip our work, and then bring it on back down, putting one back loop single crochet into every stitch. And we're just going to keep going until we have the same amount of rows as our other shoulder portions. Then I'll meet you guys back just to talk you guys through going in with the underarm portion as well. Alright guys, so I have just finished up going in with my shoulder portion, and now we're going to go in with our underarm portion. And this is going to be a little different depending on where you guys ended. If you guys are like me and actually ended up at the top, I did do a chain up of one and cut. Then we're going to reinsert our hook right where our last stitch is for our underarm portion, and then we're going to work our way down this way to keep up with the ribbing. But if you guys are lucky and ended at the bottom, you guys can just work your way up and then do your decreases from there. But either way, this is going to be very similar to how we did the other underarm portion. But if you guys did have to chain up of one and cut, just like me, we're going to count down the same amount of stitches that we needed to count out for our shoulder chain. So if you guys remember, mine was a total of 30. So I have counted down 30 and inserted my stitch marker. Once when I have that, since I want to keep up with the ribbing, I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch right after that stitch marker stitch, into that back loop, and then I'll do one decrease with you guys, and then I'll let you guys do the same. Since my hook is into this back loop, I'm going to insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through, do a chain up of one. And then we're just going to do one decrease together. So into that next back loop, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, into that next back loop, yarn over, pull through, and from here we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops that's on our hook. And then we're going to go down, putting one back loop single crochet into every stitch. When we make our way down to the end, do a chain up of one and cut, flip our work, and then put one back loop single crochet into every stitch, remembering to do a decrease of 2 back loop single crochets into the last 2, but remembering where we inserted our hook into where we did our chain of 1, that counts as a stitch as well. And if we don't go into that one for our second row, we're actually going to be subtracting 1 extra stitch. So just keep an eye out for that. And then we're going to keep going until we have the same amount of rows as our underarm portion. Go ahead and do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we can get on with the rest. All right, we are back and we are all finished with our back panel. We just did a chain up of 1 and cut one, so we had the same amount of rows as our underarm portions. And then what we're going to do from here is flip our work wrong side out, and then we're going to seam up the shoulders first. So the first thing we're going to do is insert our hook into the 2 holes that we have that's right next to our collar. Once we have that, we're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1. And then from here, we're going to single crochet, making sure we're going in through the front and the back panel at the same time. So let's do the first one together. We're going to find our next side single crochet. We're going to find a loop on top of there and insert our hook. Then find our next side single crochet into our back panel. Find the same loop on top of there. And then we're going to single crochet them together. Let's do the next one. Same deal. Find the next side single crochet row. Insert your hook into that top loop, find the same side single crochet row into the back panel, and single crochet. We're going to keep doing this till we don't have any more loops left to go into. Once we reach the end, do a chain up of 1 and cut. Alright, so we have just finished up seaming up our shoulder portion, and now we're going to seam up our underarm portion together as well. And it's going to be pretty much the same thing, just a little bit easier because we finally have loops to go into. All we're going to do is insert our hook into the first corner loop that we have for our underarm portion in the front panel, same loop in the back panel. Insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. Let's do the first few together. Insert your hook into the next available stitch we have into the front panel, and into the next available stitch we have into the back panel, and then we're going to single crochet them together. We're going to keep doing this, making our way down, and then I will meet you guys back when we have done a chain up of 1 and cut at the end of this so that we can get started on our sleeve. All right, we are back, and now that we have seamed up everything that needed to be seamed up, we are now going to get started on our sleeve. For this first row, we're going to insert our hook into the stitch that we have that's right next to our side seam, making sure that our work is flipped right side out. But once our hook is into that next stitch, we're going to insert our yarn, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. And then from here, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side single crochet row that we have. So just as an example, I ended up just having 3 underarm portions, which is just going to be 3 single crochets. So let's do those together. This is my first side single, so here is 1. Here is 2. And then here is my third. Once we reach this point, we're now going to work up and over the shoulder and then do the same thing when we make our way back down here. Then we're going to slip stitch into that chain up of 1 space, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, so now that we have made our way all the way around with our first single crochet row, we're now going to get started on doing our decreases so that we can form our batwing. So what we're going to do from here is do a chain up of 1 and flip our work because we want to keep up with the ribbing. So what I'm going to start off with doing is by going in with 18 back loop single crochets, then I'm going to decrease into the 19th and into the 20th. So I've now gone in with my 18 back loop single crochets and we're going to decrease together. So into that next back loop, I'm going to insert my hook, pull through, into that next back loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. And now that I have my decrease, I'm going to maintain the same sequence just for this run row. So another 18 back loop single crochets, decrease, another 18 back loop single crochets, decrease. And my next row is going to be a row of just back loop single crochets. We're going to be alternating between rows of decreases and back loop single crochet rows with nothing into them. And within our decrease rows, we're going to be subtracting by 1. So as an example, this first one that we did was 18 back loop single crochets and then a decrease. Our next decrease row is going to be 17 back loop single crochets, decrease. Our next decrease row is going to be 16 back loop single crochets, decrease. And then so on and so forth until it tapers down right to where we want to start going in with the length of our sleeve. So I'll meet you guys back once I have my rows all finished up, and then we can move on from there. Alright guys, I am back and I have just finished up going in with the batwing portion of my sleeve, and I ended up just having a total of 22 rows. And once we have that, we are going to measure from where our hook is at down to where we want the bottom of our sleeve to be. And I already know that I want my sleeve to be a total of 12 inches or 30 centimeters. So from this point, I'm going to start off by making a chain of 35. Now that I have my chain, I'm going to block off my last chain and do a chain up of 1. And then into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to go in with a single crochet and put 1 single crochet into every chain that we have, making our way down towards the base. And now that we've made our way all the way down with our single crochet all the way down our chain, we're now going to slip stitch it into the next available stitch that we have into the base. So this is my next one right here. So I'm going to slip stitch into this next stitch to close off this first row. And we're going to start up our second row together, which we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch into the base and flip our work. Then we're going to make our way down with back loop single crochets, which you guys should be very accustomed to by now. I'll go ahead and put 1 back loop single crochet into every stitch, do a chain up of 1, flip your work, and then bring it back down with more back loop single crochets, connecting it into the base the same way that we just did. Then I'll meet you guys back once we don't have any more stitches left to go into so that we can seam the sleeve up together. Alright, so now that we have just finished up making our way all the way around with our sleeve, we don't have any more stitches left, so we're going to seam this up. So what we're going to do from here is do a chain up of 1, then we're going to insert our hook into the first available stitch that we have into the front panel, and then into the next available stitch we have into the back panel, and then we're going to single crochet. Let's do 1 more. Into the next available stitch into the front panel, and into the next available stitch into the back panel, and single crochet. And we're going to keep doing this going all the way down. And now that we have seamed up our sleeve going all the way down to the bottom, along the edge of our sleeve that we have right here, we're going to single crochet just to clean it up. And we're going to be skipping every other side single crochet row just to get it to taper in just a smidge bit more. So all that's going to be is doing a chain up of 1 right after our seam. I've already done that. And we're going to pick one of our side single crochets and commit to it. So I'm going to be inserting my hook into this first side single crochet, which is this divot. I'm going to find that top loop and single crochet. And I'm going to be skipping this raised one, inserting into this divot with a single crochet. So skipping every other. Once we make our way all the way around, we're going to slip stitch into that chain up in one space. All right, and now that we have made our way all the way around with our single crochet, now we can go in with our cuff. So from here, we're going to need to figure out how long we want our cuff to be. I want mine to be about 1.5 inches or about 5 centimeters. So I'm going to start off by making a chain of 6. Once we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain up of 1, and then into that chain that we blocked off for the second chain from our hook, we're going to go in with a slip stitch. So let's do the next one together. Into that next chain, insert your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both loops that's on our hook. We're going to keep doing that all the way down till we get to the base. And now that we've made our way all the way down, we're going to slip stitch into that next available stitch that we have into the base to close off this row, just like that. And in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch into the next loop, flip our work, and we're going to go in with back loop slip stitches. So let's do the first one together. Into that next back loop, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, and pull through everything. We're going to keep doing that, going all the way down. When we make it to the end, do a chain above 1, flip, and then continue doing our back loop slip stitches, making our way down and slip stitching it into the base the same way that we just did. And I'll meet you guys back when we don't have any more stitches left so that we can seam it up together. And now that we have slip stitched all the way around and we don't have any more stitches left, we're now going to seam it up the same way that we have seamed up our sleeve. We just want to make sure that our sleeve is still flipped wrong side out so that all of our seams can be on the same side. Let's just do the first one together. Since my hook is already into here, I'm going to insert it into the next loop that we have into the back panel. I'm going to yarn over and pull through everything. And into the next available stitch into the front panel. And also into the next available stitch into the back panel. And single crochet. And keep doing this, going all the way down. Once we don't have any more stitches left, do a chain up of 1 and cut. Alright, and now that we have just finished up seaming up one of our cuffs, we're actually all done with this one sleeve. So we're going to do the same thing one more time. And now that we've just finished up going in with both of our sleeves, we're now just going to talk about the detail that we like to do over our V-necks. So I'm just going to talk you guys through it because this will be a little bit different for everyone. But what we're going to do is first find where our middle stitch is, so the lowest point into our collar. And all I did was counted up 4, inserted my 5mm hook, and then I made a chain that was nice and taut going all the way across to the 8th stitch on the opposite side, and I slip stitched it into there. And I'm going to do the same thing along this side so I have a really nice X detail. But if you guys want yours higher, lower, bigger, smaller, go ahead and adjust. Just make sure that it's nice and taut when you guys try it on, and then I'll meet you guys back. Alright, and now that we have added in our cute little detail, we are all done. The last thing we're going to do is just weave in all of our ends. Now that our ends are woven in, this is our V-neck all finished. We can never go wrong with a classic V-neck sweater, especially one with a batwing. This beauty of a top was a super quick and easy make. It's the perfect weekend project that'll keep you nice and toasty. There's a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us how many projects you've gotten done so far this year. Good luck to everyone who enters. Also, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up because believe it or not, it actually helps. And be sure to share us on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook, links down below. Link to our Etsy page is down there too if you want to buy this piece or any other piece on the channel. And be sure to favorite the shop so you don't miss out on new patterns and exclusive deals. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.